I became a super because I like being in the field. I like getting dirty. I like being hands-on. For me, and building relationships with the trades and with the client, that's where it all is. That's the fun part about being a super.
I was working on a project and one of my bosses, I think, saw something in me. He wanted to, and he said, hey, I'd like to mentor you. So I said, well, what does that entail? He goes, well, it's gonna make you very busy. You're gonna have a lot of work. You're gonna stay extra hours, and I'm a glutton for punishment, so I said, I'm in.
Well, I became a superintendent because I was tired of working on my tools and tired of using a shovel, and decided that I just wanted to move up in the business rather than just be a laborer or a tradesman.
My good days have got to be on the challenging days. So whether it's a crane pick where we're flying panels or something, or a big pour, just being able to be there and prepping the day before, and then getting there in the morning and prepping, and then all the stress and everything going and getting ready, and then knocking it out of the park and getting it done, and then that accomplishment at the end of the day. That's where it's at.
The best thing about being a superintendent for me is being able to train others to make them better than they were the day before. Just being able to take a project from concept to finish, on the front end, on the back end, working with great teams. I know everybody always give us all these accolades as you're a great superintendent, but for me, my team is greater than anything out there.
I think the most exciting thing to look back on is the tangible reward, right? The building. It's really exciting to see something from beginning to end and know that we got to be a part of that. And the history and the challenges and all the things that came about on the road to opening up a building. But to be able to see it and walk through it at the end is extremely rewarding.
For doors, frames, and hardware, it's how many projects. Because a lot of superintendents, they get put on a job and they stay there. I have, I think, 30 or 40 active projects right now that I'm running. So it's all the job teams and all the personalities and the complications from the projects is like nightmares every day.
The old saying, we got to retrain them every morning, so it's nothing. It's like raising kids half the time, my kids or my dog, no, don't eat the shoe. No, don't cut the 14-foot studs down to 8 foot.
Biggest challenges I personally face as a superintendent is trying to get your team or certain team members, that being subcontractors, trade partners, whatever it is, to really engage and push to the same goal. Sometimes people can't really picture the plan, and so it's important to articulate that, get people to buy in. You also have to be at a high level and then also into the details.
I couldn't say enough. When people say a lot of companies are the same, they're not the same. I know of very few people that have ever left Swinerton to think to go to another general contractor that didn't wish they came back. And some of them are still friends of mine, but they've gone to 5 or 6 different companies and never found what they had at Swinerton. That's why there's people that have been here 10, 20, 30 years. There's laborers that worked their entire career with Swinerton.
A lot of companies don't have the ownership piece and the shareholder piece, which is very, very unique, being a large privately owned company where we truly are all connected to each other. And so many companies, the superintendent role is kind of the end of your career and the end of your opportunity, because there really isn't any opportunity to move forward. And that's unique to Swinerton, because there's a whole nother side to this business on the ownership side that's a very, very unique opportunity that's special and can really change your financial future and obviously change the way you retire and your ability to retire. And it's a total game changer and difference here at Swinerton that's very unique to this industry.
My best day as a superintendent was relatively recently. We topped out a very large structure, mass timber structure for the Portland Airport. And it was the culmination of 3 years of work a year of construction, but 2 years prior to that in pre-construction. And it was all encompassing for me for that whole time. And it's by far the coolest and biggest thing I've ever built. But seeing all of it happen, seeing how happy the crews were, seeing how happy just everyone in our organization was to see that kind of that last piece go in is always a really, really amazing experience and really great feeling. And I'll talk about this project and talk about that for the rest of my life.
I just got promoted as assistant super, and I was on that project. And halfway through that project, I got promoted to a super. And just knowing that that was my first project completed as a superintendent, the achievement of completing it and knowing that that project was done with me and my team, as me as a leader, it's, if only, one of the best moments of my life. It's an iconic building right here in LA that people pass by and millions of people see it all the time. And it's a huge achievement knowing that my project is well recognized as a superintendent here in Los Angeles.
You have to be confident, you have to ask questions, you have to listen, and you have to be able to work with a lot of different personalities and just really get everybody in a room and make sure that everybody knows that we're all trying to achieve the same goal and just to make that happen, you know? And then just make sure the client's happy as well.
Qualities that make a great superintendent is being flexible in the sense of so you might go in one day and you can't build something, or that delivery didn't show up, and you have to change gears and you're working on something slightly different that day. To me, that's one of the best qualities of being a superintendent. You have to be able to schedule, you have to be able to be stern with the trades when you need to be, but having that flexibility to change gears, be able to talk to someone different, something slightly change, and be able to run with it and be effective is one of the best qualities a superintendent can have.
I think you have to have grit and determination, because it takes a lot of just sheer will to get over the finish line, but you have to be good with people skills. You have to be honest, you have to have some vision, you have to be adaptable because things are always changing, but I think grit's the main one that will make you successful.
Yeah, being able to train them the way I was raised, and you know, my work ethic is work with your guys. Don't point, go help them, push cards, push deliveries, do help them like physically. Like to me, it goes a long way.
The next generation superintendents, they need to take a step back and learn from the older generation. I still talk to all my older mentors. There's something to say about those guys that's been in the industry for 40, 50 years. I still call them, still talk to them, go have a cup of coffee with them. They're just listen, watch, and listen.
So what I hope is that they don't lose touch with what really separates superintendents from everybody else on a construction team. Superintendents have to be in the field. They have to get dirty. It's where the rubber meets the road. So my only concern, and what I really hope for these new folks come in, is that they don't forget that. It starts with being out there in the field.
One piece of advice to give someone that's looking to become a superintendent is to, really focus on your development, focus where you want to go, and make sure that you follow that path. It's being a superintendent is not a glorious job by any means. It has a lot of satisfaction to it, but it's just knowing and understanding what the expectations are for a superintendent and making sure that it coincides with what their career path is.